I wasted my early 20s. And when I look back at that time period of my life, it's pretty clear what I was doing that caused this. So what would I do differently if I could do it again? And what can you do to better utilize your early 20s? Let me paint a picture for you. I graduated high school early and went straight into working full-time, so in some ways it felt like my 20s started a bit earlier. At the time, I was still living at home and my mental mindset was slowly starting to shift. This was around the time where people were going to college and they were figuring out their beliefs, their values, and who they were as a person. Especially since I was running a business by myself, it forced me to wrestle with these questions pretty quickly. And that's where I started to notice the problem.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
The person that I was growing to be no longer fit the space that I was in. In the space of my parents' house, I had a clearly defined view of who I was. I was the quiet athlete, the person who studied or worked a lot. I was religious and I had a bad habit of shutting people out. Now, the more I started to question my beliefs, my values, and just tried to figure out who I am as a person, the more my mental identity started to shift and be different from the person that I was at home. Now, this wasn't a problem with the home I was living in or the people I was living with, but I was simply on a different path and I needed my own space to grow. Let me give you an example. Everyone is familiar with sharks, the deadly and giant beasts of the ocean. There's a study showing that sharks will actually grow to the size of their surroundings. If a shark is in a small aquarium, then it can grow to be 8 inches long. Whereas if you give it the space of an ocean, it can grow up to 8 feet long. The size of their growth is dependent on their environment's ability to enable that growth. Similarly, I was stunting my own growth by living in a space that was meant for a smaller version of myself. So what did I do? Well, I moved out right away and I solved the problem. No. I sat there for a few more years and continued to struggle with myself and the person I was becoming. That period of my life was categorized by a lot of dissatisfaction simply because I didn't have the courage to act on what I knew I needed to do. I knew I needed to move out to give myself space to grow and to find a place where I can figure out things for myself. But I sat there and kept waiting for things to change by themselves. After a lot of external support and pushing, I finally got my own space. It didn't solve all of my problems, but it gave me a new space to grow into, a space where I felt safe becoming the person that I wanted to become. I'll leave you with this quote which summarized a bit of what I learned. Nobody is coming to save you. And I know it sounds negative, but the point of it is that deep down, we typically all know what we need to do next in order to grow in the way that we want to. And if you really want that change to happen, then you can't just wait around for other people to do it for you. You just have to get up and do it.